Hi, I'm Nicole Nevenhoven, and I did my Giants project on Robert Maynard Hutchins, who was a talented and influential educator. He also had many great and controversial ideas on how the educational system should be. His contributions to teaching are still in effect today, and many consider him to be one of the most influential educators and philosophers. Robert Hutchins was born January 17, 1899 in Brooklyn, New York, and passed away May 17, 1977 in Santa Barbara, California. He was the second of three sons of William James Hutchins, who was a Presbyterian minister and also the president of Bureau College. Robert Hutchins studied at Oberlin Academy and then attended Oberlin College, which emphasized the evangelical ideals of righteousness and hard work. This may be one of the influencing factors on Hutchins' philosophy of perennialism later in life. At age 18, Hutchins joined the ambulance service of the United States Army. After 2 years at war, he returned home and went back to school. He attended Yale University. At Yale, he encountered a different environment than Oberlin College. There were parties and people disobeying the prohibition laws, but Hutchins stayed focused and didn't associate with those activities. He worked long hours to pay for school and housing, and concentrated on his studies. After fulfilling his graduation requirements, he enrolled in Yale Law School. Hutchins was fascinated by the case method and how law worked. After getting his degree, he was invited to join the faculty and teach courses on evidence and utility law. In 1927, he became dean of Yale Law School. He accomplished all these things under the age of 30. During Hutchins' time as dean, he sought to incorporate ideas of psychology, sociology, and logic within the law. His ideas were controversial, but he also had many supporters. In 1929, Hutchins moved to Chicago, Illinois, and became the president of the University of Chicago from 1929 to 1951. While dean of the University of Chicago, he started implementing some very forward-thinking but controversial ideas about education. Hutchins reformed the curriculum to an Aristotelian Thomist design because he agreed with the teaching philosophies of Aristotle and Thomas Locke. He also got rid of the football team, fraternities, and other clubs that he felt would distract from studies. A quote that explains his reasoning for this is, "I do not need to tell you what the public thinks about universities. You know as well as I, and you know as well as I that the public is wrong. The fact that popular misconceptions of the nature and purpose of universities originate in the fantastic misconduct of the universities themselves is not consoling." After leaving his position at the University of Chicago, Hutchins became the head of the Ford Foundation. Because of the huge success of the automotive industry at this time, the Ford Company had large amounts of excess funds that Hutchins was able to steer in directions of his choosing. He used this money to establish the Fund for the Advancement of Education and the Fund for Adult Education. Hutchins' teaching philosophies were somewhat classical. He liked the ideas of Aristotle, Locke, Socrates, and other great ancient philosophers. He supported the idea of perennialism, which is the belief that one should teach things that are of everlasting importance. They believe that the most important topics develop a person. Since details of fact can change, these cannot be the most important. Therefore, one should teach principle, not facts. Hutchins also encouraged the use of great books in the curriculum that taught about classical ideas and the Socratic method. It is clear from his biography that he had many great contributions to education and philosophy throughout his life. Some of the contributions that were the most significant and still in effect today would be his time as president of the University of Chicago, the establishment of several educational funds, and his many published works, and the founding of the Center for the Study of Democratic Institutions. Hutchins has been deemed as one of America's most highly esteemed, most well-known educators. The University of Chicago's curriculum has been modified, but it still reflects Hutchins' ideas of secular perennialism and the Socratic method in teaching of the great books. His establishment of the Advancement of Education funds sponsored nationwide teacher training and college early entrance programs. The Fund for Adult Education sponsored educational programs for adults in liberal arts, and one of the most well-known television programs was PBS. And Hutchins' Center for Study of Democratic Institutions brought together scholars to examine democratic institutions by comparing non-democratic societies and democratic societies and the development of a democratic world over time. I personally like the majority of Robert Hutchins' ideas on education. I think that it is important to teach principles and values, but I also think it's important to teach facts, along with principles and values. Also, I like that he had more classical ideals about education, and he helped develop a list of great books to teach from. I have always enjoyed reading classic novels and literature, and I think that we as a society have a great deal we could learn from these books. Robert Hutchins was a noted educator and had many wonderful influences on our educational system today. His philosophies improved the curriculum at the University of Chicago and influenced other teachers and professors of his time to implement his teaching methods in their schools as well. Hutchins is a significant man in the history of education. Thank you.